Hello, I'm Andrew, or IBX Toycat, and this is a bit of a throwback to an older era of YouTube. Ultimately, nowadays, if you want to be successful on YouTube, you need to have a ridiculously eye-grabbing thumbnail, a title that sounds like you spent literal real-life months working on it, and you've got to have high engagement editing for something like gathering all of the biomes or building oceans in your nether, doing things that seem impossible, and if they were possible, would take months, but this is unrealistic for most people's real-life Minecraft experience, and so today I figured, let's just throw things back to the usual old no-cut style. This is 30 minutes of me working on something fun in my world. What can you realistically accomplish in a small to medium-sized play session? And the answer for me is going to be a real quality of life difference. Right now, I have this big chest where I store all of my potion ingredients, but also all of my potions, which makes it very hard to tell what is what. I honestly don't know what jump boost looks like, or swift, or night vision. They all get me very much confused because I'm not used to how they look, and so I'm going to be building a big place to store all of my potions, and it's going to be a giant potion bottle. So I need to grab myself some red dye because I think the most recognizable potion in video game history is always the health potion. I'm going to grab some red dye, I'm going to grab myself some glass, and indeed smelt some more up as we do this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build some red dye for the potion, and maybe have some, regular glass go on top of that later, but for now, this is what we're going to be using to build a brand new potion, which is going to go right here. I'm going to solve a real world problem in my world, and we're going to be doing it in a bit of an older style. The reason behind this, I think, is because nowadays the bigger, I think making better videos for viewers is a good thing, but some people are so focused on having the next big hit and doing every single video as the most insane 6,000 days worth of progress that ultimately it stops being what people will realistically accomplish in their Minecraft worlds. I think that if you want to be real to what you can actually do in Minecraft, you've got to admit that, yeah, some days you just make a small improvement to the overall world, but it's the addition of all of these changes together that makes something actually quite wonderful. So having a lovely little square like this, it's going to be fairly nice by itself, but when this scales up and when we actually use this in a meaningful way is when it makes a difference. Small builds are not the end of the world, and in fact are actually a very good thing in my opinion, and hopefully by the end of this video you'll see exactly how much value we get from this. If we do, that is, because again, it's all one take, who knows for sure where we end up in 30 to 40 minutes, but it also means that you have an opportunity to actually really talk about actual, things that are going on. I think the least valuable part of a video in terms of engagement is when you actually explain what really, the reality is, to use for lack of a better word, is in some ways a very boring place for many people. It is, it very much is less eye-grabbing than I did something insane and I literally blew up my parents' house or whatever the YouTube video would be. It is much more fun for many people to imagine a world where everything is crazy and 10 out of 10 all the time, but I think it's something that is worth avoiding. I think modern, I don't think modern day YouTube is bad for the viewers, but what I do think is that there is a space in every single creator's and every single viewer's heart for something that came from old. So how is it that something that so many people will say time and time again they want? I'm not the only one of my creative friends who says they miss the olden days of YouTube when it was so much simpler and so much, honestly, more doable. You could put more heart and soul into it versus just grinding away with the effort. And I think the answer that I would give every time this comes up, also, we just need to get a few more pieces of glass now. See, this is how it really has to go. We get one piece of glass here, one piece of glass here, and that should be enough to do the basic red base. And then from there, we're going to build a potion spout, which looks like not that. I have a potion on me right now, actually. I hold this most of the time. You can see how a potion is like most of the way colored. It kind of bulges out a little bit around the rim there, and then it kind of comes in towards the top where there's no potion up there, because obviously there's some room for air in this bottle, and so we're going to make sure that we have some room for air in ours. Anyway, with that said, let's get back on here and let's place the last few blocks. Should it be 5 high, or should we go one more extra block in there? I could see going an extra block in there, but also, oh, it's not 5 high, it's 6 high. So that actually makes a perfect sense in my opinion. We do have to have a little bit of a bulge in there somewhere, so we'll have a couple of extra blocks go on each of these sides to make sure that the extra bulge of the middle of the potion is represented, and then we'll work on adding the spout. Except, of course, it is nighttime, and that means it's time to sleep. nope, not time to have a magic cut here and make things go, but instead, time to actually do it. Minecraft is filled with all sorts of fun mechanics that I think many people see as boring, or at the very least, not as engaging as they could possibly be, and so they cut them right out of the video, which is a good decision on an artistic telling a story level, and good storytelling is one of the key parts of basically any successful piece of media, but where I think it fails many people, and indeed where I believe a failure really is held right here, is, so we're going to grab some of our glass right here. We're going to make sure we're doing very nicely for ourselves. And now we're going to work on having a glass pot. But I think the place where good storytelling comes to a fail is when you're trying to not just tell a story of something fun that is imaginary, but something from the real world. That real life does have very good stories to it. Some of the best stories in history do come from the real world. If you've never, if you like Game of Thrones, for example, my favorite example is that basically everything in that series happened in real life. It is a real story on some level, at least. And so, I really enjoy that. Like, the world is great at making stories, but at the same time, a lot of things that happen in the real world aren't the greatest of stories, but that is what makes them real to a certain extent. So we're gonna have to place a piece of red glass here just so we can place our regular glass off it. And now we've got ourselves a little bit of the spout. Now we're gonna have to make ourselves an entrance into this. Obviously, I think we've kind of got a raised one right here. That's probably not the way to go. We'll go with something like this and then something like that. And now you can see that is how our potion bottle will look. It's slowly coming together a little bit, right? But we still need to put this spout on a little bit more, I would say. So we'll grab some chests to store the eventual potions in, and then we'll also grab the more glass as we come through here. So these are all of my potions so far. They're very much mixed up from every single type and everything like that. So instead, I'm just going to grab some brand new chests from scratch, and we're going to have, I think, the main 6 potions at first. The ones we use the most in large enough quantities that I don't feel bad about using them. Right now, even if I want to use a jump boost potion, I've got 4 of them lying around. I've got 4 strength potions lying around, or 2 even. This is fire resistance. I've got 2 fire resistance potions, and then maybe another 5 over here. When you only have a little of something, you feel this scarcity about it. That I think is why it's so important to have big storage in Minecraft. It's not that you're going to need to have 20,000 cobblestone, or it's not that you're going to need to have a ridiculous number of anything, but instead, by having those large numbers, you start to remind yourself that you have so much that you can relax and let go. Scarcity is something that we should all feel because almost every resource is scarce, but when you overfeel scarcity, when you feel scarcity when there is none, I think that's when you can start to create problems for yourself. Many people have this issue in the real world of imagining that resources are so scarce that they literally can't spend another penny because what if something real bad happens and they lose it all again? While at the same time, many people have a abundance mindset, which probably serves them incorrectly, where they believe that nothing bad could ever happen. They'll never lose their job, and so they'll just keep spending very recklessly. I think if I was to give an opinion, neither of these views are quite correct. So, by the way, we're going to now have it go inwards, I think. And we just want to slowly bring ourselves up to a spout sort of system. So do the same over here, and then remove this, and then slowly but surely we'll have a very thin neck to make this look like a potion bottle. So block goes there, block goes here, block goes here, and now we just need to connect the corners, which is nice and simple in my opinion. Oh, just like that actually. Yeah, just like that. So, very easy to connect up. Now we have one more layer above this, the thinnest layer of the spout. A potion bottle is, of course, kind of like squared up on the top, actually. So maybe we just connect up the very, very last parts of these into something like this. Make it very much kind of a square. And then as we do that, that should give us a lovely potion bottle. But scarcity mindset is something that is important to have when you need to have it, but also acknowledging when you don't need to have it is important too. I think looking at this, we can see that it's kind of nice. The red stained glass is a weird effect when you've got the chests in there, by the way. This is kind of nice, but to make it clearer that it's a potion bottle, I think we need to have a taller spout, which might result in us requiring some more red stained glass, if I'm being totally honest. We could also make the floor out of something more interesting, because grass is fine, but I think we almost want to keep the illusion going. I don't think red concrete is a good idea, but maybe red stained glass down there could work as well. Now that we've got the basic idea flowing, actually, well, we got the basic idea flowing, bar a few more glass for the top, so we'll make sure we have that in there, of course. Now I think it's important to work on the top of this thing, and just, I think also start brewing the potions, because it's important not just to have a big building design. Again, one of the things that gets lacked and goes missing when we're talking about things like this too often is the idea that actually it's not just important to have a really nice building, it's important to have a purpose for the building too. You can build the big... Oh, that looks weird, actually. I think we still need to come in a little bit more before we go up 2 whole blocks, and then we'll come outwards to that. So if we just move that layer in the middle inwards by a few blocks, I think that would resolve all of our problems. And then at the same time, I think it's important for us to actually get those potions that give this building a purpose. If there's no purpose behind your building, then what is the point of building it? You can build things for fun in Minecraft, but if you're building things to impress people, and those people are imaginary strangers, then maybe you're missing some steps, is what I would say. So we'll actually, you know, let's just put one button here. Let's make 12 whole bottles all at once here. Just water all the way to the craziness. Throw a couple of bottles back in there, but that's fine. And now let's start brewing some potions. I think the 2 most important potions that you will end up needing in every Minecraft world, it's always going to be fire resistance, because that's useful, and water breathing. I think having both of these combined just goes a really long way. So we're going to take some fire resistance potions, which is of course made with magma creams, and we're going to be getting some water breathing potions, which is made with pufferfish. Thankfully, I've done a lot of fishing in my day to look for enchantments, although that's not the modern way of doing that, I know. So let's throw these on the ground. I didn't know you could throw it straight from the from the brewing stand. That is something I tested right there. I'm very glad it worked. And then let's throw this, our awkward potions, into here, where we'll of course be throwing in the magma cream, and then for the other set we'll be placing some pufferfishes. So by doing both these potions at the same time, we can ensure maximum efficiency. That goes in there, this goes in there, alongside my brand new, now awkward water bottles. And then we replace it with 3 more regulars, and slowly but surely we get enough of these potions that we won't ever have to feel awkward about drinking them again. They're both going to need redstone on the other end, but that's something we can work on when we get there, because for now, actually I guess we can work on it right now, these are my fire resistance potions, but they're not good enough yet. They could use a little bit of extension, which is why this can come out of there. I think this is, it's kind of reminiscent of playing like Overcooked, or, you know, if you want to use the 4J example, Manic Mechanics, but it's this, or Diner Dash if you want to go really old school. This idea of like doing something so you can do something so you can do something is actually a surprisingly fun mechanic. Now we take some of these fire resistance potions, we combine them with the ones we just grabbed from here, and I guess at the same time we'll also take our water breathing potions, which by the way, what a weird color this has now. This is my first time really appreciating that in my survival world. But now we can take these potions and we can start to build something fun over here. As you can see, this will be my fire resistance chest. We could probably work out a decent sorting system, but I think more important than a sorting system is just labeling. So later we can put either a picture of one on there, or we could put like a fire in front of it, or we could just put a sign up saying, this is fire. We have a few systems that can help future me understand what current me is doing, but I think one of those systems would be probably a good idea. So now we can grab a second set of glass, and indeed a third set of glass, and we should hopefully be able to make that that spout look just a little bit more attractive. In fact, looking at this potion, you can see how the top is actually corked off with a kind of orange looking wood. I'd say that's jungle at a best guess, and so we might actually be better off placing some of that in there at the very top layer, and then even beyond that. So for now, this middle layer of glass is going to come out. So we'll make sure we place these blocks on top first. So right up here, 1, 2, easily gone. And then all of this middle layer, or at least the corners, I think. The corners will come out, and then maybe be replaced with something else. Yeah, if we place like a diagonal block in there, we'll be bringing in the spout, but not so drastically that we might look silly. So that's something that we'll try first, and if we need to go in further, we can go in further afterwards. So it's kind of weird to break glass, one of the strangest mechanics in the game, but I'm just about getting it done here, I think, and hopefully it results in exactly what we're going for. So we do have to place a block just to replace it, but that's fine. You make small mistakes in Minecraft, and they're acceptable. You don't have to pretend in life that you're perfect, I think. And yeah, you can see much better that it looks more like a bit of a mess, but that mess might go away a little bit if we use... Honestly, actually, looking at it, do you see how this is a near perfect fit for terracotta? Jungle wood makes sense because it's cork, but I think if you're going for actual accuracy to the block, you might be better off using terracotta. So we'll go quickly grab just a little bit of terracotta and test that theory, which would be wild if it was true, but you know, there's wilder things in Minecraft, right? And so here is some terracotta. We'll grab we'll grab the whole stack of it, and we'll see where that takes us, honestly. But yeah, giving buildings a real purpose is important, in my opinion. And yeah, it's something that is kind of forgotten about on modern YouTube. In fact, you know, I'm making all these digs at modern YouTube. I think it'd be fair for me to, like, accurately reflect what I mean. I think that in a lot of ways, it's hard to actually get up to the top here. I'm hoping I can kind of, like, abuse the Elytra, and somehow that worked just great. But to actually explain what I'm talking about with that, because it seems kind of unfair just to be like, yep, things were so much better back in the day. People have made that point for the all of history and back, and I don't think it's ever been true. I think now is the best time to live in history, with very few exceptions. So maybe we'd be better off if we could place a block underneath all of that. I don't think we'll be able to unless we can, like, jump on these chests weirdly, though. Oh, and we can do that somehow. Okay. So we just have to jump on the chests. It's free high. I have no idea how it's possible that I made that jump before, but I just did. And then we go, and there we go. That little extra block might be a big difference maker to make the court kind of symmetrical on both sides. It's not actually symmetrical, but it adds a little bit more that it's like plugging in the hole. And now I think the other thing we'd have to do is take this bottom glass layer and also fill that in. You can see this fills up into the spout by 1 block. And so we want to make sure we match that with our real potion. Aesthetics, yeah, I think the important thing to say is YouTube is always getting better and life is always getting better. People who claim the opposite are nostalgic for a different time. There's that famous phrase that anyone, anything that happens between the age of like 0 and 15 is new and exciting and the way you've got to do things. And then between 15 and, like 30, you start to like think now is the best time ever. And then as you get a bit older, you're like, I wish things were how they used to be. And I'm sure I'll be going through that progression in my own life. And, or, to use some Winston Churchill quotes instead, perhaps. Anyone who is, it's something like, anyone who's not a liberal at the age of 20 is heartless. Anyone who, or has no heart, rather. If you're not a liberal at the age of 20, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative by the age of 40, you have no brain. So it's something like that, saying basically like, yeah, obviously you're thinking with your, what you think one way when you're a certain age, and then you start to progress that change of thinking. Not necessarily because you're changing, although I think that is a big part of it, but because the world is changing around what you are used to. So now, placing this block back is going to be a bit of a pain, but we can always do it underneath this block, thankfully, and then we'll do the same around here. We might need to do a whole nother layer of these, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem if so. And again, we've got plenty of red stained glass to make my potion effect work. Thank God for that, honestly. But yeah, I think there is a very similar thing with how YouTubers perceive the platform. Thankfully, it's not that widespread of a movement, but many old YouTubers are like, man, I miss how things used to be. And a part of me feels that too. It used to be that the way you could appease YouTube was not necessarily just appealing to like your own viewers and hoping YouTube showed your video to them, but it was like, oh yeah, you make videos on broad topics, and people who search those topics, or people who, like are just searching the vagueness of Minecraft, would come and find you. And honestly, when there were fewer YouTubers, I'm sure the system worked better for even the viewers involved as well. Also, it's weird, I feel like we might want to go a little bit higher up even yet, right? Like, it's a bit odd. I'll see what I feel like if I put some stained glass on the ground here, just to kind of see where that brings me. So we put a bit of stained glass there. It looks really odd, actually, because you can see that it's glass on the side, and also you can see that this terrain's a little bit artificial, but that's fine. And then we'll place a stained glass block here. And then I think that's the last of my stained glass block. So adding that to it, you can start to see that at least I'm vibing on the redstone in there. So that's a pretty good look for now. We can come and revisit that after we actually work on the form, the function rather. The form is important. Beauty is an important thing as much as I would like to believe that we live in a world where beauty isn't important, but beauty is incredibly important. It affects so much of every single part of your day-to-day life, and if you don't think that it does, then you're just not seeing it, is my humble opinion. And the same is true for, like internet videos. You can say, and many people will say like, oh yeah, what matters more than anything else is just the content, air quotes. And I don't really like the word content to describe internet videos, but people will say this all the time, like it's just about the videos, you can have the worst thumbnails in the world and it'll do great. But ultimately it always is down to, at some point, not just what you have, but how you present what you have to the world. And it seems really unfair if you think of the world as a functionary sort of person. You're like, yeah, the most important thing should be you know, the form, you know, the way that things are should be the most important part. So we're gonna grab both of these potions too, really commit to having this new place be it, and then also grab a water breathing potion, because now we'll also make more space in these chests for the other potions, which won't be the 6 most important. And I think that's a nice step to have. So fire resistance is now very much like when I see this chest, I know I can grab one for my Nether Trip, or I can grab 2 for the Nether Trip. When I see this chest though, I'm not seeing it quite as bad, which is why it's important for me to grab this glass, turn it into glass bottles, and make this more useful. But yeah, I think modern day YouTube has evolved in a lot of ways, and it is much better. With a few exceptions to being, and a lot of those exceptions can just be like, well, you know, a lot of people are used to this being a certain way, that now it just isn't, which I think is a really poor criticism when you hear it from other people. But to hear me out on this one, I think the reason that it affects YouTube, the reason that YouTube can't go back, even if everyone agreed it was better, was that there are just so many more creators now, and rightfully so. They need to balance not just you know, like, how do these people find some stuff? How do existing creators find their audience? And how do people who have never started anything and, you know, don't make videos, aren't really intending to, but are just making one thing, how do they balance all of those people's needs together with viewers, by the way, which have increasing number of options? Like, they can watch Netflix, which is doing all this personalization. And I think after you look at all that together, I think it'd be weird to conclude anything but, like, okay, yeah, I see they're in a bit of a dilemma right now. Also, I think I want to make more pufferfish potions, so we'll make that our priority after these are brewed. The important thing, actually, should we throw these on the ground? Yeah, that is weirdly enough, that is the easiest way to make sure that we throw brand new potions in there. Then we take these 3 potions, which are the top 3 slots on my inventory. See, that's wonderful. Works just great. We take these out of there now, and we get ready to throw the next batch in. Or we could, I guess in the meantime, we could put the fire resistance in there. We're not going to make too many more fire resistance potions now, because we're doing pretty good on that front. We're going to go very heavy on water breathing instead, because look at this. I've got awkward potions, but they won't let me breathe in water. They just let me drink awkward water. So now take these out of there, put these into there, take these out of here soon, and you get kind of a conveyor belt process going on. It's gonna be real fun. So yeah, I think modern day YouTube obviously has new incentives to abide by, but that doesn't mean people aren't nostalgic about how it used to be, because maybe you don't have the time to work out how the new system works, or maybe the new system. This is a common problem in the world. So it's something called the principal agent problem, right? There is a common problem in all sorts of businesses. So take YouTube, for example. Even if an employee really, really wants to improve the platform, or even if YouTube themselves say, yeah, we want to make a YouTube that has this old vibe of experience. Like, that's what they want more than anything else. Basically, everyone who works for someone else, you might think like, oh yeah, when you work for McDonald's, you have to do what Mr. McDonald's wants all the time. That is the way that company works. But if you've ever actually worked at a company, you know it's not really that way, right? Like the thing that most employees, you know, the reason they're not doing like 12 out of 10 jobs is because that's not in their incentive, you know, like package all the time. Kind of understandably so, or maybe not understandably so. But it is, you know, like people have different incentives. And so the best example of this problem is when you're buying a house or when you're buying anything, someone is there to help you buy the house. It's in the US, it's called what, like a realtor agent. You have someone, a buying agent, who is just on your side to help you buy the right place. However, despite the fact that their job is to help you with your money and do the right things with it, they're actually driven by their incentive structure. You know, your incentive structure is get the best house for your money or get the best whatever for your money. Their incentive structure is get the most money, which means getting the most people to buy houses, even if they're not necessarily correct. This seems like a perversion to many people, perhaps. Also, oh, it's fun. After using all those nether warts just for building, I now actually do need some more. Thankfully, I found some in this chest recently. Don't know how they got there, but having disorganized chests sometimes works out in your favor when you're just about to run out of nether warts. Although I bet I have some in here too. Yeah, I've got all the nether warts in the world. Anyway, so now we're gonna grab these awkward potions, make sure they turn into water breathing, and the whole conveyor belt must keep moving on. Water breathing 3 minutes goes in there, not 8 minutes. It's kind of sad that you can't just infinitely add more time to potions. Like, I would love to have a 20-minute awkward potion of a 20-minute water breathing potion rather than having to drink 3 of them. I'm just saying, concentrated potions makes just as much sense as stackable potions, right? If you wanted to do things that way, but doesn't matter for me. Awkward potions come in here. These come out of there. Well, these go in there. So that, and that. See, it's a conveyor belt process. Takes a lot of individual steps, but the end result is going to be very good for my ambitions to be able to breathe underwater. Now, I think it's fair to say that, like, although magma potions are important, we could work on our next most important category of potion, and it's not as much as we love to believe that it could be, rabbits, etc. I think it's not. I think it's actually regeneration. In Bedrock, regeneration is so slow that if you don't want to hold a totem of dying all the time, which, you can choose to do, you realistically just need to have ghast hits. Even with the totem, if you don't want to be popping it all the time or making a ghast farm, you might instead prefer to have a bunch of regen potions. And so what we do is we take these awkward potions from before, and we do the exact same, but it's regen. Although I personally, instead of going on longer regeneration, we're going to be using glowstone to make more powerful regeneration. So take these out now, put these in here, and all of a sudden, we have ended up with the amount of water breathing that seems silly, but gives me enough that I now know that I can actually drink some and not be using up a decent percent of my supply. So yeah, the principal agent problem is, if you think about someone buying a house, they're going to have a big issue. The people who are meant to be representing you, they might be really good and nice, nice human beings, but their incentive structure says get as many houses bought as possible because they make a certain percentage cut on the house, etc., etc. And so a similar version exists with, the McDonald's example is great because the person who owns the McDonald's, who spent a lot of money, buying the site and the land and the equipment and whatever else, that person then hires a manager to actually manage the day-to-day staff, etc., right? However, that manager isn't employed to make sure they make a return on that site, although hopefully that's in their incentive system somewhere, but instead that manager actually, their real goal is to make sure that the business owner is happy enough to continue paying them so that they get a raise, or so that they get... Also, wait, did I put one of my regeneration 2 potions in there? Oops, I did. Okay, so this is fine. This is fine. I'm going to throw this potion on the ground for a second, and I'm going to put the stick on the ground with it, so we can just free up some inventory space, so we can keep on brewing, because there is a lot of this that needs to be done. Anyway, yeah, there's a bit of a principal agent problem in every big business, in that the people who are employed for the business just have some way of determining whether they get to keep doing what they're doing. And so in the YouTube case, every individual employee is just told, how do you keep people on our site for longer? If you do that, you might get a raise, the McDonald's example you get. Obviously, everyone knows that, you work hard if you're looking to get a raise or to get promoted to a position that pays more. But in general, you otherwise just want to keep things ticking over. Things need to keep going, sure. But beyond that, they don't, there's no exceptional requirements. However, so now we're going to make these into these. And, oh god, that's not correct. There's too many similar colored potions. And now we're going to go back to this, but I've got 3 more water bottles I have to throw in there. Then I can go over to here, take these out, and throw the awkward potions in. Then I can go over to here and make 3 more regeneration 2 potions. I need to have so many of these that I feel no guilt about drinking one when I feel the slightest bit of danger. This is how we're going to reverse scarcity. But yeah, in the same, in a company like YouTube, the way they've been hiring their engineers and telling them they're doing a good job is if you increase watch time with your feature, it is a good feature. If you decrease watch time, as in overall site times, if someone spends 15 minutes a day on YouTube as opposed to 25, no matter that feature is not good. And so that simple incentive setup, that simple slight change now creates a problem where if you have a feature that you know is best for YouTube, but might result in slightly decreased watch times over the temporary course of a span, then the tech company says, oh yeah, we do not want that. What we want are things that increase it, because that's how YouTube gets ad revenue, etc., etc. They want to make the best platform they can, but they're incentivizing people not to make it the best platform that people love, but instead to make it the platform which results in the highest, click-through times, or the highest average watch sessions, and that then results in people watching more YouTube but being disillusioned with it. Because in real life, this is something you'll notice a ton of times. Oh, we have almost a full chest now, by the way. That's good. That is what I want to see. Something you'll notice all the time in the world is what people like and what people use are entirely different things. If you, in the United States, I remember this being a big deal when I was in my early teenage years. People were mad about Walmart, destroying their high streets. They're like, what can we do about this? And then at the same time, everyone's going to Walmart because they're like, but it is the best. Like the thing you could do if you wanted to stop Walmart is not to go there, but people liked it so much they just didn't like the effects it created. And I think that's where most people actually are on TikToks and YouTube Shorts and the YouTube algorithms. Lots of people do actually watch them. You can be all the boomer you like and say like, no, it's so much better. You know, like I love when people had longer retention spans and could watch a 30-minute unedited Let's Play. But I think you're probably harkening back to an old time. Because the incentive, if you think about the principal agent problem from my end to your end, you are trusting me with your watch time, and I am wasting that watch time building a giant potion bottle with something inside of it, when you could have seen in this same time me collecting every single biome, surviving 1,000 days in ultra hardcore, and whatever else you want to see. Like, you can, if you think about it, it's actually very rude of me to have deprived you from that and instead give you this. So we're gonna make a few more potions. We'll go for a brand new type of potion just to bounce it out. Having 3 potions is a bit weird. There is you entrusted me with your time. Have I spent that time well? I don't know. You don't even know for sure until we get to the end of this for sure. But that is a real. We have a different set of incentives. If I finish this video and then, once we finish editing it and we get it on YouTube, and then maybe if that's done earlier than elsewhere, I get to go and enjoy. There's a tube station I wanted to visit where some people died. There's a lot of things I wanted to do. There's things that I can now get done in my life, which means that if I spend less time, I'm getting paid more per hour, I guess you could argue. And so maybe my incentive structure is just saying I preferred when I got paid more to do the same thing that I'm doing right now. Or the exact opposite. I preferred when I could do the same thing I'm doing right now without it feeling like, some days on YouTube, it's like, yeah, if you don't put in those, 12-hour days that were like optional before, you do sink below the pack. If you aren't like unhealthily working yourself, you will not grow on this platform, is the way I think many creators have put it. And it's kind of true that the incentive system for a industry where there are far more people who want to do something than are doing it, creates a system where each of the people who are in the system has to work exceptionally hard to be above all of the others. Also, slow falling doesn't have a 2 effect, so we're going to use it just with some redstone here, and that should result in the exact same effects there. So now we're going to do the same, take these awkward potions over there, and then replace them with some water bottles. So 1, 2, 3. 1. Oh, that's already awkward. Oh, that was a grave mistake right there. We could make another set of pufferfish potions, but I think I would actually rather have some more fire resistance. I think we're going a little bit low on the fire resistance, so... Or maybe we could just make a whole new type of potion altogether. I need some speed potions at some point in my world. Why not just make one right now? Let's just go for that, right? So awkward, awkward, awkward. Slow falling, slow falling, slow falling. And there we go. We now have ourselves 9 slow-falling potions with just one little batch of potion. We go through so many glass bottles doing this, it has to be said. But the end result is now we have a much more organized chest, and we can even take because now we can take these potions out of here, right? We can now start to do something a little bit more fun, and we can start to move these potions back over into here. So... and then we can start organizing this chest because everything fits together much better. Although, actually, all of these regen 2 potions, they're coming with me right into this place. Just a tiny bit of chest organization will go a long way for when I have a big thing coming up that I need to do. I can just grab a potion from here or a potion from here. These are all 4 minutes, but they've got some 1-minute 30s with me. Being able to do that makes a very, very big difference in my opinion. And so this is an example of something that has genuinely made a difference, and it did so in less time. As for the debate and the question, the really interesting one of like, what is the actual answer to, is YouTube better or worse now? Is it that YouTubers are lazy? And the answer, the answer to all of those things, I think, is always... There's a little bit of both in there, right? People prefer old YouTube because it was better for them, but also there were lots of ways in which it was better for viewers. When YouTube increases watch time as a whole, it does technically result in a better experience in the way that it is measured, but it does result in all sorts of weird downsides at the same time. And those downsides are real and do need to be considered, in my opinion. And so, okay, we're going to move all of those out of there. And now we've got this lovely row up there. Then we grab these regen 2 potions. Okay, so we've got more swiftness than anything else, it seems. We've got a few jump boost 2 potions, and then we've got a single instant health and a lingering potion of plus 2.99 attack strength. What a weird potion. In fact, I think that's bugged. I think that strength potions is meant to be free. I wonder why it's plus 2.99. Is it a rounding error? So now we take these jump boost potions out there, and we mix them over here. For some reason, I got really into jump boost at one point, it seems. Then we can take these potions of speed, which I do have over here too, and we mix those in here as well. And just, you know, small things make a much more organized chest. Instant health, I guess, will stay in here, because it makes a lovely little corner. Turtle Master can stay in here. Lingering Awkward Potion is a bit of a weird one. Poison will go there. Turtle Master will go next to the other one. And just after a little bit of doing all of that... Yeah, it is. Wait, it's plus 2.99 here. I wonder if that is a Minecraft bug. That feels very odd, right? That doesn't feel like it's working correctly. But what matters is... Actually, yeah, we can now move the Strength Potions over and the Turtle Potion over. So throw those in there. By the way, one of the other things that you can do with this format on YouTube is you can have kind of a real talk. I want to talk about something, and I know it's not that catchy, but I've been getting really bad in my words recently. Like, across my whole life, not just YouTube, I'm, like, slurring speech, like, a little bit. I'm mispronouncing things like whipty instead of whipty. Instead of whipby, Jesus, see, it's really scary because I communicate for a living, and so it's one of those problems where the solution is just work harder on how I'm talking. But when even that's not working, that's when I'm getting, like, a little bit scared, right? I think everyone has, like, certain things they're more vulnerable to hearing about. You know, don't tell an old YouTuber that if they want to make it now, they've got to make 100-day videos. And don't tell someone who relies on talking for a living that actually their speech or their enunciation is getting worse. But it is happening to me, and it is kind of scary. But I think ultimately, to round up this whole thing together, I have made a potion today that which stores potions inside of it, which means anytime I need a potion, I can just go in here and grab a bunch of what I need and not have any fear that, like, oh no, I'm running out of fire resistance potions, which is a really important thing my old system didn't allow me to do. I do also have this nice little potion, which is behind my giant firework, which stores my fireworks, and I think it's just another nice addition to this half of the world, which is something that is important to make. Just have some nice aesthetics things around your base. They don't need to be to the craziest level, and in the same way, not everything you do needs to be the craziest thing in the world, and anyone who convinces you it does, oh god, we've got a raid, we've got to fight. Anyone who convinces you that it does, okay, so we're going to fight a raid while also talking about my personal issues, we're going to do both at the same time, is pretending a little bit too hard. Do you think the raid is actually downstairs in my basement where all the villagers are? If it is, I think that they're all dead, right? Oh no, okay, so thank god that it's not. But then the question of where it is still does have to be answered. Has anyone seen any pillagers recently? Are you a pillager? Oh, there we go. The pillagers. Okay, they're spawning randomly on the swamp plains right here. Let's take them out. But yeah, I think everyone has like things that they think they are good at. And I don't know if I'm good at talking necessarily, but I've always enjoyed talking. It's been a part of my it's been a part of what I do a lot. I really enjoy having the right conversation. I'm quite introverted, but like, you know, you get me talking about the right thing, I'm gonna have a really good time. And so it's kind of scary that something that I think I'm good at is something that is like waning a little bit. Maybe just need to see a speech therapist or something like that. But I think in the same way, like if you always see yourself as athletic and then and then you have an injury, I think that is the sort of thing that breaks you. We're all like particularly sensitive to certain things. And that's one of the hardest things to learn about, like, dealing with other people, is if you are sensitive to particular things, other people are as well, but you don't necessarily know what it is for other people. And that is why it's so important I think maybe the word would be, like, be gentle in different ways. But you generally don't know when you're hitting someone's sore nerve. Like, there's some that become really obvious, like, there are some things no one responds well to, basically. Like, I think it's societally ingrained. Like, if someone is large, don't mention that they're eating too much, or something like that. I think that's really societally ingrained with people. Or, like, you know, don't mention, like, if someone says, like, hey, I used to be a different gender or whatever else. You don't be like, oh, yeah, so what was that like, huh? You gotta approach things like sensitively, like ask like, so is it okay if I ask a question? A little bit of a wild one. You know, something like that. If someone that, you know, like we always are trained to like the biggest versions of something. But what about if someone has diabetes? That's like a very prominent condition that kind of like messes up your ability to enjoy food, which, you know, statistically, for the people who got it non-genetically, is something they probably did a lot before. Kind of messy, right? And so in the same way, I think one of the things that, if I could raise a tiny bit of awareness, is thankfully, I feel like I am like on the way out of like what was a big YouTube slump. Hopefully, maybe not, who knows for sure. But one of the scary things about... Also, why is there just a random frog chilling in the middle of this raid? I guess it's technically a swamp and that's why. But one of the things that every YouTuber I've ever spoken to is kind of like a little sensitive about is when you go, yeah, I used to watch you. Or like the worst one than that. Because I think that's fine. Like that's saying like, at least that's well-intentioned. People being like, oh man, you only getting 10,000 views. You used to get so many more. And it's like saying something that like is very public and everyone is aware of and trying to act like it's new information. I think it's like, oh man, yes. Thank you for reminding me my career. Again, personally for me, I feel like my peak of my views versus my views right now are not actually that far off. But some people, like you know, some of the very old school YouTubers who did the style that I was trying to mimic in the intro, genuinely were doing, you know, like, oh no, I'm actually gonna die to this, huh? Genuinely were doing like 1 million views or something per video, and now do like 3,000. Because of the, maybe you could call it an ability to change, you could call it lack of interest or moving on to other things. But if they are trying and not succeeding, then that is something that breaks. But you know, even for me, like someone's like, yeah, I used to have like 500 views on a live stream. Now I notice it's like 400 right now. And it's like, oh yeah, that is a metric by which things have gone down. And it almost feels like trying to call it out. You're like, oh look, you suck. You're doing real bad. Didn't you used to do way better? Now you're doing terribly? That's interesting, huh? Speaking of interesting things, I hope you enjoyed this particular Let's Play. I am enjoying fighting a raid in my newest village, I do have to say. And I also enjoyed this old style of Let's Play. It's not how I'm going to do it every single week. I would love to tell you that it is. I don't actually think it's objectively worse in every way or anything. Oh man, get multiple poison attacks right here. I think the new style of YouTube, with all the cuts and engagement edits, is obviously designed for a particular type of viewer above other particular types. We have poison for 20 more seconds. I will die if a pillager sneaks up on me during that, so I'm just going to be careful. I'm going to see what's happening, and I'm going to say that I hope you all enjoyed. No, you know, we got one more wave left, and I've got a little bit more to say, and that is to say that I think it's a really scary thing that from the outside we use certain metrics to judge people, right? And we like, sometimes we like to pretend we don't, but it seems to be a universal experience that, like, yeah, in the real world, you're kind of judged by, like, social status and money and a few other metrics like that. They're not the only things that define you, of course, but they're things that people will use to define you. Also, where did this guy go? He could be killing all the villagers right now, but I guess I wouldn't have the raid still going off. So he's down there, maybe? No, he'd be dead. Yeah, I bet he spawned in a cave somewhere around here. Which means I'll forever have a raid just annoying me until I deal with that. But, you know, as a wise man once said, that is future me's problem. To kind of, yeah, he's not down here with all the librarians, the swamp librarians, by the way. So where is he? He's got to be somewhere interesting, but this is not that place. So yeah, I do think that reminding people they're doing so much worse by being like, oh yeah, didn't you used to be like a billionaire? Didn't you used to have a bunch of friends and now no one cares about you? It's weird that some people would say those things, but also it's probably less sensitive to do so. So if I was giving you advice to deal with any of the other YouTubers who are in the same boat, it'd be something like that. I think though it's a cool mark of my time on YouTube that you can look at the first episode of this Let's Play and see how it's evolved today. I love that being an OG has these downsides that I mentioned, but it has some of the cooler upside. You know, in my mind, I'm not even. I'm saying that to myself. It's like I didn't start until 2011. Like that's not original. That's like years in there. But I think that if you compare to some of the I think being someone who's been around for a while is really cool because you have that sense of comparison. I'm always saying the thing that actually is the best about if you want to appreciate long-term survival projects, do comparisons. I love looking at these videos and being able to do a comparison at how much has changed in this world, in my life, and in these videos, and I hope you enjoy the comparison and you stick along for the ride to see how they change in the next few years. I have been IBX Toycat. I hope you enjoyed this 44-minute uncut video, because I'll see you in the next one after my very much not current outro. Goodbye.